Hello, so here's what we've got today. We've got the actual main body of the watch. We've got clasps that I made yesterday, and we've got some hints at lugs which still need quite a lot doing to them. So this is the clasp I made yesterday. It says DSH, 18 karat white gold sides. Need a bit of heft to them. You don't want them bending open and you losing the watch. Spring bar, 18 karat tongue. Just bent that round and soldered it shut. And then try to shape it. A little dimple in the middle there for the tongue to seat. It's largely going to be held straight by the leather either side of figure, but it needs a bit of polish. Quite a hefty thing. I think it needs to be in this metal really, because it can be misshapen. Don't know whether I'm wise to actually take the spring lug out and beat that a little bit with a hammer, because gold work hardens. You can't heat harden it, but if you tap it, it goes hard, and maybe that's an advantage because you don't want it soft. As to the actual watch body here, I need to trim back the 18 karat white gold at the end of these, but it's always nice to file them back when the top's on. The trouble is with that then I can't take measurements off the end of it for the holes for the spring lugs. These ones are soldered in place pretty much precisely at the end. Didn't file them back. That one, if anything, is actually slightly short of the end by a tiny amount. So I actually need to trim this material up. I want this actually finishing perfectly. I could squeeze it in a little bit more there. Right, so I need to take this bit of plate off here, and this bit is actually going to stick out into the piece that I put along the end. This arrangement's going to have to be something different. Somehow I want this to go in as far as it possibly can. At the moment it's making contact with that plate there. I don't know, I probably want to shorten this end rather than this end, because this is going to have some sort of arrangement holding the spring lugs on it, and I want it to have as much to go into the watch as far as possible, in order that the lugs are stable and don't move around at all. And everything still needs a lot of cleaning up, so that's what we've got to do. Well, here I'm filing up the end, cut off the excess metal from the silver. I've left a little tongue sticking out, which I'm going to cut a groove in the piece that the lugs are attached to, put this tongue through and solder it, and that's how I'm going to form the 90-degree angle, and finish the case off at that end. So that slides in there like that, and I'm just looking at how everything seats. Metal's still black because I haven't used the acid yet. I actually did end up mixing up some acid with a kettle full of boiling water. It's better to keep the acid between 30 and 60 degrees, but by mixing a boiling kettle I dropped everything in it and left it for 20 minutes, and so it would have been within that threshold of warmth for a little while. So that cleaned up some of the stuff, because I was having trouble soldering in the end. And it's been a bit of a frustrating day, really. Firstly, I lost a little piece of white gold which I was going to use for the 12 o'clock marker on the outside of the case. I don't know, maybe it's £50 worth of metal, and I can manage without it, but there was a split in one of the plastic bags, and I don't know whether it's fallen on the floor in the garage, or maybe I've dropped it in the house somewhere. I mean, it could be that it will turn up in amongst my clothes in a year or two. I mean, it's hard to know when that's going to turn up. It's a bit frustrating. And I also got a letter for a traffic violation where I think that they're just robbing me. It's just ridiculous. I appealed it and they've turned down my appeal. No common sense whatsoever. And apart from that, this silver piece in my hand, I put some pieces in it to hold the spring lugs. Managed to do that on my second attempt. First attempt didn't go smoothly, so I scrapped that and tried again. And this is me offering up a spring lug to see where it's going to go, and marking out the vertical pieces which are going to hold this with a Sharpie, and then I cut them out with my saw blade. Yeah, this was slightly tricky, and the piece of metal has been heated up and soldered so many times. I keep trying to use hard solder, because you have the option to go down and use medium or easy when things start getting difficult, but you haven't got the option to go back up and use hard again if you've already used medium or easy. But regardless, as I'm soldering this, other parts of the case are starting to open up and gaps are starting to appear, and the heat has warped a couple of things, so it doesn't fit together as nicely as it did. And so basically I don't want to solder anymore on this. So I'm going to work on the lugs using hard solder, and then when I attach the lugs to this piece, I'll just use easy solder so as not to disturb anything. But I had multiple attempts at soldering certain pieces which didn't really go well because it needed cleaning up, which is why I ended up boiling the kettle and putting it in the acid. So I'll show you what I've done in the next video, but my progress for the day is that I've actually got a spring lug to hold this inside at the 6 o'clock, though I haven't drilled the holes in the outer case to accommodate that spring lug. But the spring lug fits in the silver piece without any wriggle, which is good. So I'll talk to you again in the next video. Thanks for watching.